Yes, folks. Welcome to another edition of Gavin's Good News Vlog, the place to come for the best of positive, upbeat and happy news around. Thank you so much indeed for being with us today. As you can gather, the throat is still ruined. If anyone's got any good tips, please let me know. I can't talk properly. It's kind of crucial for what I do. Today's Gavin's Good News Vlog is an idea that I think could potentially help solve the knife crime epidemic which we're going through at the moment in the UK. Particularly in London, which is the city where I'm living in at the moment. I mean, it's sort of been blown out there with the headlines in the media. There's been a couple of really high-profile killings recently with two teenagers, one in London, one in Manchester, that have been stabbed to death, and it's been absolutely awful to see and hear all about that, and it's shocking. It really does. It makes you kind of fearful for like walking around, and also it makes you question society in general, really, about how people can get to that sort of level of wanting to kill someone with a knife, and to kind of, you know, it just makes me really angry. The question is, you know, there's so much talk and so much hype and so much, you know, conjecture that's thrown in there. But the reality is, does anyone really know how to like crack it from its source? It's not being dealt with properly. Like the conversations that are being had are, it's small talk. In order to try and properly tackle it at its source, you've got to go down and look at sort of things that have worked in the past. And you know, the Chicago method, as pioneered by a guy called an epidemiologist called Gary Slutkin, Dr. Gary Slutkin, slightly unfortunate surname, but anyway, we'll ignore that. But this guy was he worked with the World Health Organization. He helped to crack and solve Chicago's knife crime problems over 2 decades ago. In Chicago, the murder rate was really high, and he helped to set up an organisation called Cure Violence. And this Cure Violence organisation was government funded, but what they did was, it was really interesting. What they did was they used former gang members and put them on the street to kind of act as a link between law enforcement agencies and what was actually happening. You know, drugs and all sorts of other, you know, nefarious issues are related to knife crime and gun crime as well. It's so interesting to hear how like a little bridge can potentially be a way of solving the wider issue. Whether it'll work or not, I have no idea. I'm no expert on societal kind of like, you know, studies and what have you, but it seems like something like this could be really interesting. In Glasgow, they've done something quite similar. I know in Glasgow, in the last year or so, the murder rate has gone down by a dramatic amount. In London this year particularly, knife crime cases have risen by 11%. And outside, excuse me, you know, in the areas outside of London, in England and Wales, the rates of knife crime have actually gone to around 45%, according to studies by that quoted in the Evening Standard. They're putting that down to county lines, so drug gangs essentially spilling out into the sort of counties nearby, or counties nearby outside of big cities anyhow, and using those as like, you know, areas where they can use children particularly to run drug rackets, if you like. That's what they're saying. But using kind of former gang members as little go-betweens between what's actually happening out there to, you know, law enforcement agencies, the police, drug squads and what have you, undercover police officers, it could really work. And all it would take, I guess, would be funding. So the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, really, I think, should probably maybe look at that ahead of other issues like stop and search, maybe. Stop and search, I know, breeds resentment here. It breeds resentment in all cities, no doubt, because it's got an undertone of being racist. And whilst it probably does help with cutting down the rates, it's never going to breed any sort of good relationship between authorities, the police, and government, and what's happening on street level. So therefore, maybe something like this could potentially do some good for the city at the moment. Let me know what you think. Do you think the Chicago method of embedding what they call violence interrupters in the street to just try and diffuse any tension, diffuse any violence, have those conversations, do you think it could work? You know, something's got to give at some point, and maybe they're, you know, a softer approach, maybe a more conciliatory approach. That method potentially, could it work? I think that the way that they did it in Chicago is that they, you know, the epidemiologist Gary Slutkin saw that it was an issue that was, you know, from his past, from what he was before as a, you know, working with various health epidemics. The problem would be found, and instead of it sort of clustering off and then spreading, they'd contain it at source. So by containing it at source, do you think that that could actually work with knife crime? Is it worth treating it as a disease? Should Sadiq Khan sit up and listen and say, we need to fund this by about £10 million a year perhaps. They've got the money. They've definitely got the money. The amount that councils waste in London on various pointless projects, like, oh my God, pointless projects that they're like piling money into. Surely you can just use those funds and put it into knife crime initiatives. Let me know what you think. I would love to know your thoughts on that. As always, thank you very much indeed for watching. This has been Gavin's Good News Vlog. Do drop us a like, subscribe, follow, and hit the notifications bell as well. Would love you to do that, and watch some of the other videos as well too. That would be great. So as ever, do stay positive and keep happy, and we'll see you again very, very soon indeed.